Okay, I'm getting set up here. This is going to be a little bit different. Going to do a rebuild on my Lost World soundboard. So I bought, this is for the Bally soundboard 32-50 Deluxe. This is from Big Daddy Enterprises. Pretty basic. So this one still works, but I'm getting a little bit of like scratchy sounds. You know, it almost, I know it sounds weird, but it almost sounds more robotic than what it usually does, which is a little bit interesting. It came with 6 different capacitors. They're all over here. Got ceramic resistor, big one, normal one, normal diode, then a germanium or whatever diode. Really, there's no instructions for this. You might be able to go to his website and find some. My only thought is I'm not sure. Quick glance, or I'll have to look it up. I'm not sure where the germanium, whatever this one is, that diode, I'm not sure where it goes. There we go. It might be that gray one right there. I'll have to look it up online, pause or something, but there's the regular diode. Pretty sure that's it right there. So the only thing that's kind of weird about this kit, or not weird about the kit, but I've noticed it with other games and other soundboards and stuff like that. I actually have 3, potentiometers, variable resistors. So I have a tone control, a volume control, and attenuation, I think is the correct word. Basically, like how long does each little beep last? Is it a quick little chirp, or is it more of a, is how long does it draw out each note? Volume is down here. Then you have your speaker connector. Yeah, the main power and everything is over here. Obviously, I'm just not sure which one's so one of those I'll have to keep. But the main thing is, like I said, it still works. It just sounds a little bit off. So we're going to go through it. It does come with a new transistor that goes in here. So that'll have to come off. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This kit, well, since it fits other boards, I may just not have all of them. So we'll get to that when we start looking at the size of the capacitors. So we'll go ahead and just start off with the big capacitor. It'll be the easiest. So 100 UF, or microfarad. This should be microfarad, and this is a 100 volt DC. The voltage can always be higher, don't go lower. That's just basically how much can it handle. Capacitors are also, they have polarity, so you can see this has positive written on it. Negative is your stripe. I know negative's the stripe, but on a radial. Let's learn something. I don't ever deal with radials. Axials? I think these are axial. So let's learn which one's which. I got a diode thing on here, so we know that one's positive. So, oops. So it doesn't work. That's a capacitor, not a diode. Shit. That just jumped way out of spec. Well, I'm on diode because I put it on diode because I'm an idiot. This meter doesn't do capacitors. Let me look it up, because obviously, is the arrow pointing towards positive? Let me look that up real quick. Let me pause. Okay. So I looked that up because I knew the stripe was negative. And these are axials, not radials. So I got that squared away. This is an axial capacitor. The stripes are always negative, or if you're using, I got tons of them over here. So this is a radial, and the stripe is on the negative side, and the stripe, or the negative, is shorter, positive is longer. So that's what I deal with all the time. So stripe is negative, and it points, the arrows point towards negative. So we'll want to install it this way, because we can see it's positive marked on the board and it's positive marked on the capacitor itself. A couple different ways you can do this. You can either try to suck all the solder out, and then we are going right here. You could suck all the solder out and then try to free it and then remove it. Typically, if you can, I just get it hot. Come on, pull the capacitor out. Get it hot, pull it out. And then you could either use solder wick or solder sucker. We're going to start with the sucker. Make sure you just got 2 holes right in there. That's good. Push that firmly against the board, pull out the legs. Normally I would say if you're worried about traces, you can go ahead and just solder it to the next one over, or where it's going. Like if I wanted to, well, but we're replacing a bunch of stuff, so like that's a test point. If you're worried about the board condition and you're worried about like that trace being broken or anything, just take it and go ahead and just solder it to its next spot. I'll need to add solder, that's not sticking, but now it's going to be nice and hot, so I don't want to use my finger anymore. But so like if you're just worried about the board or the trace or anything, just go ahead and put some new solder on there that has a little bit of flux to it. So, because that's the ceramic resistor on the other side of that. So whenever I do the ceramic resistor, which we can go ahead and do that next. Resistors are not, they do not have polarity. So it doesn't matter which side you put on each end, which end you put on which side, whatever. So just gently pull on it. You don't want to pull on it too hard, too much. This one will take more heat because it's the negative, so it's that whole entire pad is the negative right there. So all the heat is kind of getting sucked out like as I put it in. That is not taking anything. There we go. Yeah, sometimes it'll just fall out. So And it doesn't matter, but I'm going to leave the words pointing up just in case something ever happens to it and you need to replace just the that resistor for some reason. You don't have to look it up. You can just read it off the side of the... You could also do the same things with the capacitors, which now that I said that, I did not even check that on the first one, so I can almost guarantee we can't read it because I didn't look at it first. You might be able to spin it in place, but yeah, you can read it. It's just kind of, I don't want to spin it though. You can read it. It's just tucked down in there. The light's kind of casting a shadow in my way, but you can barely read it. So, transistor right here. I like how that nut is pressing right up against that, so I can't even spin it. Well, I guess you can spin it from the back, so it'll hold it in place. I won't need any tools. This, you do want to have your orientation correct because you do have different legs do different things. I'm just pulling it away from the board a little bit. Since these three legs are pretty close together, what I'm going to do is just flood all three of them at the same time. And maybe it'll just fall out. There we go, just fell out. I'll show you what solder wick looks like. So it's just braided copper. It may or may not work in this situation, but sometimes it's a lifesaver and sometimes it just doesn't work. Like it almost depends on whether or not it just wants to get sucked into the... That's not doing crap. Let me try just... Sometimes I almost feel like the old solder just doesn't want to flow. I want to check something real quick. I'm trying to see if this middle pad is supposed to go to the... Looks like it is. Nothing on the other side. So it has to go somewhere. Okay. I'm just lightly using a scratch brush, just trying to get the dirt off of it. If I can get the green off of it, that'll just kind of show me. So I'm just taking the little conformal coating. I have new conformal coating, so I'm not that worried about it. But if I clean off this copper, or clean off, I don't know if you can see that at all. So I cleaned off the green right there because that pad's supposed to be connected. It still is connected, but I'm going to go ahead and make that larger just to be safe. I wasn't 100% sure about it, so. Okay, this does go in a specific direction, but on this one, it's pretty obvious. You just want to have it to where the head is flat against the, I guess you would call that some type of radiator or, you know, cooling fins. So what we're actually going to do is go ahead and just to make sure this stays happy and in place where it wants to be. Snug that up. We got plenty of feet thrown. I'll actually go ahead and pull it out a little bit more. Not going to hurt anything. So on your soldering iron, you don't actually use the tip. Use like back just a hair on the side. It's a much better place to use. The downside is you want to make sure you're not pushing the tip into the next pin, but that's typically the hottest spot. And then what I actually do is, you might have to put a little bit on here just so you have a little bit of a puddle, so you get more of a you know, contact patch with the pin. But generally speaking, what I want to do is hit one side of the pin with the heat and the other side of the pin feed in the solder, and then you know you're hot enough and that's going to work. So, and then I'm looking to make sure none of those are bridged in between. Just so I can show you, this is the conformal coating I have. This is just a jar I got off of Amazon. I buy it, actually here. Here's my refill. So, getting low. I have more at work. But, and then whenever I get done, I just go over all my, you know, connections. You can even see what I'm doing. I'll just wipe that off, and that just seals everything. So, I do that whenever I get done because it, you know, it takes a little while to dry. So if I just stand this up now, it'll start just running down the board, and it'll get sticky and tacky on your hands. So it's a little annoying. But it dries pretty quick. It's not that bad. Okay. I'm going to try to do like one of everything a little bit, so that way you can, and then I'll just put the rest on time lapse. So this is your normal typical diode that you'll see a lot of, and you can see got a gray band on one end because these do have polarity, so they go, you know, you have to have it in the right spot, point in the right direction. So you got your anode and cathode on there. This is, so you can see the other one has a band. It has a band right there as well, so we want to make sure. My thumb just spun the knob, but we'll have to redo that. So it'll just go right there. Go to the other side of the board, kind of mark it with my finger. Grab onto it lightly. Am I grabbing the right one? That is the right one, yep. There we go. Sometimes the legs are like, once they go through the holes, they're bent over. So sometimes what you can, but I'm worried about damaging this board, so I'm not doing it. But sometimes I'll just go up and I'll just snip that off. That way the leg that's bent over isn't hooked onto the board anymore. But I'm more worried about hurting this board, so I am not doing that. So, but you almost have to pull on it a little bit more because the leg's bent. So. It's also, it's a little bit rough on me because like all these pins look like they've been resoldered, so it's not obvious like which one was I just playing with. Was it that one? See, that wasn't it. Down over here. Yeah. Oh. There's also a symbol on the board. They make this easy, so you can just see, you can tell which one's the stripe. Because it only allows current to flow in one direction. That way you can't backfeed anything. Put that on there. And like I said, I just bend it over a little bit. Hold it in place for us. Again, if you're worried about the trace, you could just fold this all the way over. Ooh, that's hot. Just fold it over, solder it right there. I'd lay it down better on the board, though. I wouldn't leave it like that. So. I'm going to assume this is, yes, yellow, purple, red, gold. So the bands on there, just that's how you read a resistor, and then tells you the size of it. The gold band at the end, the first three, okay, first of all, they have multiple bands. So this is a 4-band resistor. They'll have 5-band resistors, you know, but the one on the right, in this case, the gold one, that's your like percentage, like how far can it be off, 5%, 10%, so on. So that would be that one right there. Again, it's also a resistor, just different type of resistor. So there is no polarity on this one. And make sure, yep, okay. Gotta make sure I'm not grabbing the wrong thing here, as always. I'm doing this all backwards. Nope, not enough. I mean, I can see that the leg's bent over, so I don't want to... That actually just fell right out of the resistor, so this resistor might have been bad or partially failing, because the part that I wasn't pulling on came out of the side. See, right there, it came out. So, and it does not look healthy either. So that could have been the whole reason it didn't work. These, hold on, let me backtrack a little bit here. This is a transistor. It's a tip 29. You see transistors a lot on pinball machines, usually on solenoid driver boards. They're basically 2 diodes. So if you have a meter like this, you can bring it up there. It's doing Celsius and Fahrenheit, but if I press and hold the yellow, we are now in diode test. I'm pointing with 2 different things, so we're in diode test right now. So one thing I can check, there's basically, usually it's either 2 are coming into the middle, or 1 is going to the outsides, a lot of times, not always. So we can kind of see what's going on here. And usually, I mean, they make millions of these, so I'm going to say usually, because the ones I deal with are, the middle leg is at the top. So, and you can see we just shorted out. We're at 0.000. So that is a direct short. So I can either touch it here, or I can touch it back here. Back here is going to be easier. We're going to go to the left leg. We're at 0.5, which is good. Go to the other one. Oops. Nothing. And this is where, if you don't have anything to compare it to, I don't know if it's good or bad. So I know, like the ones I have at work, that would be bad. And then if you test it the other way, it'll either stay OL, or you might get like a 2.5 or a 1.2. So that's what's weird. I would almost think, since this one's, come on, 0.5 on this one. Sorry, if I touch the middle, 0.0. If I touch this one over here, so these, yeah, I would want to compare it or read and check and see what's going on with this one, why it's like that. Do I have any? I know I have transistors. I'm just seeing if I have any right here on my desk. Like, let's see what this one is. I can't read that. I can see Texas Instruments sign. So this one. So 0 in the middle again. 0.8. And then 1.1. So with that one, that's good. But 2.4 and 0.5. So they'll all have different readings. The main thing is, without having schematics or something like that, luckily on like a solenoid driver board, like I wonder if this one's the same one that's next to it. Let's see what happens with this one. Let's see if we can compare. So that's 2.4, and that's 2.4, so that matched. 0.43, 0.43, so yeah, I may have replaced it and it didn't need replaced. 0.8, I remember we were at 0.8 on this one also. Go to this outside, we're at 1.1. This outside, we're at 1.1. So, yeah, so those two are reading identical, so they're both good. On a solenoid driver board, especially with like Bally. Stop it. I have a bunch, but anyway, on a solenoid driver board, you'll have a row of like 30, so you can easily just test them real quick. So I guess what I could do, I already put it in the board. I was gonna say I could compare it to the other one, but it's already in there. And now that it's in the board though, which one was reading 0 and I didn't think? Okay, so that's reading 0 that way. It'll only flow in one direction, or you get, you know, different voltages. The fact I got nothing on that outside leg makes me wonder. But see, that's 0.5 that direction. If I go the other direction, it's 0. So I would assume that that is bad. But with that one now installed on the board, not really a perfect test, but I would think that's bad. Because that's 0. Turn it around. So red on the leg, 0.47. That's perfect. So red on the leg. Yeah. I would assume that this is bad. So it's my guess that's bad. So that could have been my whole problem right there. Maybe it was. Okay, we were doing a resistor R22 down here. I do have other old soundboards that are destroyed, so I could even compare with those. You could also check your manual. A lot of times it's easier and faster to just compare it to another board, another resistor, just if it's the same one in the same location. A lot of this stuff, you need to remove it from the board. That's kind of, that pad is pulled up from the board a little bit. So gently. Lightly scraping that off. I think my flux is in my oddball project because I was using it in there. So we're going to see if we can tin this without flux. This solder does have flux in it, so it will work, you know, to a point. So okay. There we go. Hot. I'm just being rather safe than sorry since out of the game. You know, if the pad's loose or anything like that, who knows how, if I just did that or if it's been like that for a while, crack could be forming. So that's why, again, if I wanted to, I could just jump this one right over to there, you know, lay it down sideways, you know, not a big deal. Okay, what else have you guys not seen yet? I do have a lot left, but what's going to happen is I'm going to end up just stop talking and I'm going to go through and do this all, I guess, all three of these are the same for your potentiometers. Wonder if it actually says on there. Since they are variable resistors, sometimes they'll say on there. I cannot read that, but that does not. It just says model 91, model 91, model 91. So all three of them are the same. So I'm just going to replace two of them. And, you know, I'll just have two spares because obviously, like, I know volume works. I know they all work. So I'm going to replace two. I wonder, show you guys something else whenever I say variable resistor. If I can possibly show you it working. This is going to be hard for me to show you. So there is 3 legs on there. So if I test it one way, usually it'll be like the 2 outside, you know, I say usually, and then it's just in my line of work or whatever, which could have completely backwards from what we're seeing here. So it's like cable's all torn. It's pulling on me. It's like I can't keep my fingers where I want them. I'm trying to do chopsticks here. It's not letting me. Okay. So we'll start with the 2 outside ones, see what we get. We're getting 9.8 thousand. So if I spin this a little bit, what's going to happen? Spin, spin. I'm getting nothing. Okay. So that could just be, it's probably a 10,000 ohm. Try the other two. So we're at 0. There we go. If I start spinning it. So we were maxed out all the way to one side. Went to 500. 600. I'm barely turning this knob. There's 1,000. So now I'll just start moving a little bit faster. Because I'm trying to keep it within spec because it's about to jump again. 4,000. It'll get to 4. It'll start over. If you look at the thing at the bottom. So now we're at 4. See that dials, it gets closer. 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, we're maxed out at 9.8, 9.9 basically. So, yeah, and then so basically with that being the volume, I would assume as you're adding more and more resistance, it's getting quieter. And then as you take away resistance, it's, you know, allowing more of it to get to the speaker. So again, these are all real close together. So I'm going to go ahead and just try flooding these 3. Let's see if I can just get it to fall out. There we go. Fell out. Ooh, I got 2 of them in one shot. Yay. Okay. So, and obviously the way these are aligned, you're only going to put it on there one way. So, hopefully, unless you really jack stuff up. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on there. There you go. And then bend, 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 hold it in place. Another thing to do, don't use regular cutters on this stuff. Use good flush cuts. Like whenever I connect that together, see there's no line there at all. I don't even say good flush cuts. I lose them all the time and I need them everywhere. This is Amazon, and it was like 10 for $10. I mean, so they're everywhere. I just got them laying around. They also make really good, fingernail clippers if you need to get in there. I do. But I mean, they do come to a fine point. But you damage them easily. So yeah, if you bought Nipex, I have Nipex at work and stuff like that, but they still need replaced. But at home, I'm not using them that often. Also, you want to use these on zip ties so you don't leave the little points behind, or it cuts the hell, especially if you're working on cars, it cuts the hell out of your arms. Anyway, these are like 10 for $10. 10, I don't know. They're not expensive, and I just have them laying around everywhere. So on that note, we have more capacitors left. We have pins, because we got the speaker pin, and then we got a 4. I guess maybe it was cheaper for him, but instead of doing a whatever. That's not even spaced out the same, dude. Or I don't need all of them, because this is 1 pin short. So I'll have to see, do I have a, I would assume, maybe if I would assume it's a key, and then the last one's empty. So I'll have to check. Also, these are really nice. So I'm debating on whether or not I'm even going to do those, because there's no corrosion on them. I mean, this whole board is really clean. So I have a feeling that resistor that I replaced might have been the issue. Capacitors, you can usually look at them and tell if they're starting to go bad. That's not good. So that's wiggly. I was trying to see if we had a cold solder joint or something on the back, or if the pad's broke. Yeah, that pad's lifted. That's all that is. Pad's lifted right there. It's wiggling. So they might both be. So what I'll probably do is, again, just jumper that and then jumper that over to that one. That's for the speaker. So I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this into time lapse and go ahead and finish the rest of this. I don't need to talk about anything else. Everything else is more the same. This does have a stripe on one end. It's black. So again, when you come down here to that, trying to think of the name, they have, again, there's that same diode symbol is under it. You can kind of see it right there, the arrow with the line. You can see it right there. So it's going to go that way. I don't know if they also meant to have a tape on it like that, different colored tape, but also, again, it's a diode, so if you are unsure about it, you come down here. So I'm not even going to bother checking. I'm just going to put them on here. That's 1.8. And then my watch is trying to join in the beeping. So 0.6. So 0.6 with red on the left. 0.7 with the red on the left. This should be a lot higher, or nothing at all, because it's not on the board. So yeah, because typically it's going to flow that way. The line is blocking it before it goes through. So you're going to get 0.5 volt this way. So, but there you go. So I'm going to go ahead and put on time lapse, and I'll finish the rest of this without boring you with my monotone voice. So I'll let you listen to some music for a little bit, but okay. Okay, so now what I'm going to do there is one capacitor that didn't get used. Oh, forgot the speaker. We'll go ahead and knock the speaker out and I can talk to you for a minute. Whee. So yeah, since this is only 2 pin and they're like right on top of each other, this is how you burn yourself, by the way. Mess with the pins from the other side. There we go. That's what I was doing over here. I was trying to avoid the pen that I was soldering, but I ended up kind of burning myself a little bit. I was trying to avoid it, but I didn't burn myself. I felt it getting hot, so I just let go. Get out of there. Let's see if that'll just stay there on its own real quick. Nope. Stay. I can't see that very well from this angle, but okay. So what I did was I went to the other room and I looked at that. I looked at the Lost World plug, and it did have a wire all the way down here at the end. Had a couple of blues, but there was actually number 5 and 6 were empty. So that's why I went ahead and marked them. And I just kind of marked them on this side, so that way, depending on which side I was looking at, I knew that it was supposed to be empty. So what I was going to go ahead and do is what they call a continuity test. You're just making sure that you have basically no resistance from point A to point B. You'll always have a little bit just because you're leads. So I'm at 0.1, 0.2. That's just what's built into the circuit. I can't do anything about that. So what you can do is just listen for I turned it on so I can just listen for the beep, but I just want to make sure. That doesn't look like it goes to anything. So very good. We know that's all good. I also just did the speaker. So I can just see the speaker goes on this pad all the way here because it's the ground. Also comes all the way up to this one. Goes to this one. Goes to this. Come on. There you go. I'm not getting good. What are you doing? Come on. I don't even know if you can see that the way it was off the page. So it comes all the way around. Oh. Those two are connected. I wonder if they're supposed to be. Yeah. Okay, that's good. So we're all done. So like I said, I did have one extra capacitor that could just be for the dash 50. I kind of wish I had, another potentiometer for that. Not a big deal. I can adjust that, see if I hear any scratching noises or anything that doesn't sound perfect when I adjust this. I could also, because we know how, where was it? Up here. So it's just 7.8 thousand ohms. Go to here. Let's see. This actually went to a little 11,000, which, depending on the percentage it's considered, doesn't take much. and I'm just sweeping it pretty fast. So we're going to go all the way down to 0.6, which you figure my meter by itself is 0.2, so pretty much 0. It was already pretty high, so I'm going to go all the way up, bring it back just a little bit. That way we're kind of close. I'm going to assume all the way to the left is down. I don't know all those. So let's go put it in the game, see what it does. The game also needs a couple pins redone on the rectifier, so you'll notice that. But that'll be next. Maybe tomorrow. Okay. Hopefully you can see. You know what we're going to do? We're also going to test it without this being grounded, because sometimes soundboards are weird. They're just kind of all over the place. So we'll try it without the... it's still grounded through the wires, but not through the board itself. Which usually then it's kind of like a ground loop issue. But you gotta turn the game on, it's back here. Ooh, see? Got a bad speaker hum. Hey, and it went away. Doesn't hurt to try. We got a little, pretty quiet hum. Okay. That went away. Where's the start button? Okay, we're gonna hit the coin door. I'm gonna put it in sound test. Sorry, I gotta move the phone here. Open sesame, come on. I had my phone propped up against it because this stand is a little weak. That's volume. That's attenuation or whatever. And then so this one would probably be tone. Ugh. I wish it did more music than just that. I'm shaking the crap out of the phone, aren't I? Here, let me try to actually play it so I can get to some of the sounds here. I'll tell you what. That way you have a clue what I'm doing here. I don't know what I'm doing. That's how this game goes. Really? Okay. Well, while it's like that, I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit. Come on. Get a little bump. Wow. Yeah, the stand's trying to fall over on me. Okay. We also have this on like the alternate sounds because that's how it was whenever we got it, and we didn't know that it was on the alternate sounds. Trying to rip the spinner. Spinner on this thing goes forever. Okay, well, I think that sounds pretty good. Larry is the main one that plays this constantly, so I was just playing it the other night and I noticed that it just sounded a little rough. It doesn't sound rough right now, so I'll give it that. And I'm pretty sure on the tone control we had it like as deep and low as it can go, so it's not like bright and tinny. So we have it like as deep as it. So that's why there was like a soundboard that had it. I think one time I tried a different soundboard in it, and it didn't have the tone control, and we didn't like it at all. There we go. Now I'm gonna have a good ball. Whoa. I need A and B. If I get A and B, I'll give it a ×5 multiplier. There's B. That was an amazing save. Did not get A though. How did I not get shoot again? There we go. That's a really good ball one. 126 on ball one. Oh, we're still on ball one because we got shoot again. So anyway, this is now over an hour video for just rebuilding a soundboard because it takes me way too long when I talk. So the first 45 minutes of it is me just doing a couple of them. The last, but anyway, extremely long video on rebuilding a Bally soundboard. So, because what had happened, why I said the connector needs repinned on this, if you're this, I've had this game for a long time. This is actually the first pinball machine I ever bought. So I had repinned everything and I kind of learned as I went on this game. And then what happened was later on, I wanted to give one of my friends a pinball machine as a birthday present. And I got another Lost World where the playfield was like pretty rough in it. But it played good, but the playfield was rough. And I had, this is a new inbox, so to speak, or whatever. This was a brand new original playfield leftover. This is an actual Bally playfield from 1977, 78, whatever this is. And I had it cleared and I was getting ready to put it in this one. So what I did was I took because my playfield was like, okay, it wasn't bad. His playfield was horrible. So I took mine and I unplugged it and I put it in his cabinet, and I took his really bad one, I put it in this cabinet. Well, whenever I moved it over, then I got his really crappy playfield plug is now plugged into my rectifier. And then once that was done, then I did a normal playfield swap, and the really crappy one is now lit up and hanging on my wall in the hallway. And he has my okay one in his machine. So it was repinned at one point is what I'm getting at. And now this connector that's in here now, because it was from his playfield, is not repinned. So I do need to do one connector on this game. Everything else, besides the soundboard, all the other boards are new. All the displays are Wolfbacks. Obviously, everything you're looking at is new, except for the 48-year-old playfield that I had cleared. Ibis rails from Pinside. Yeah, just kind of been going through it. Still, I have a stencil kit for the cabinet, but the cabinet's a really good survivor, so I'm not decided to hold off on that for now. So maybe someday, but for now, there you go. I just made this video even longer. So I will see you guys later. Like, subscribe, do whatever you want. I'm going to see what I can manage on this game because that's a pretty decent ball one for me. So see you guys later.